There are times in mankind's history that draw attention in future decades, future centuries. This will be one of them. There are wars, civil wars, other wars going on all over the world. But Biden and Blinken and the American media are focused on Israel and only Israel. You do not have nightly talks in the media. You do not have daily talks at the White House, press events about what Russia's doing with Ukraine and how Ukraine's responding, about what Xi's doing in Hong Kong and his plotting and planning for Taiwan. There are also murder, mayhem, rape going on in the Middle East with Iran, with Syria. And you do not have any reporting on all that. It's Israel. Israel. The Biden administration wanted Israel to enter into a ceasefire about a month ago. Effectively, it has. It's effectively ceased operations in Gaza, although they're going to pick it up now because they've been waiting. And while that's been taking place, Hezbollah, one of the other terrorist surrogates of Iran, have been firing scores of missiles into Israel and Israeli cities. You don't hear about that. Hamas has been murdering volunteer aid workers. You don't hear about that. IDF soldiers are dying while they wait for orders. You don't hear about that. This administration, his party, and the media in our country, I want you to keep something in mind. It's the most inhumane, propagandistic, radical government / media we've ever had in the United States of America. Ever. 80% of the American people support Israel. 72% of the American people support Israel finishing off Hamas. With the Democrat Party funding the Hitler Youth in our colleges and universities. The same Democrat Party donors that are funding the Biden campaign. George Soros has his invisible hand behind most of this. His son Alex has visited the White House more than 100 times. The Islamist groups like CARE, founded by Hamas, a front group for Hamas, have an open door to the White House. Jordan, King Jordan, who imprisons, tortures, kills his political opponents. His wife is invited on a Sunday show, and she's never challenged about what Jordan does. Ever. Syria is a hellhole. Egypt is a hellhole. Iraq is a hellhole. Doesn't matter. Biden meets with the Jordanian king. Then he calls Netanyahu and puts the pressure on him. Do not win this war. Do not kill off Hamas. While he's funding Hamas through Iran. If this is all okay with you, then vote Democrat. Because apparently tens of millions of Americans are going to do that. Tens of millions of your fellow Americans are going to vote for Biden. They're going to vote for the Democrat Party. We have two different countries in this country. Two different countries. With Americans who believe in America. We have Americans who love America. With Americans who understand the difference between good and evil. And then there's the others. We have media in America that is a Goebbels-like media, This upsets the White House when you mention it, see, because they only want to plant Hitler and Mussolini and so forth in the mouths of the media against Trump. But it is a very Goebbels-like media in America. Very simple. They stand for Biden. They stand with Hamas. They stand against liberty. They stand against the Constitution. They stand for one-party rule. I'll prove it to you. Make sure you go to camera.org, like the word camera.org. See what they do, and see how they expose what the media do in this country. Go to memory.org, memri.org, and there are other sites. This website, Stand Against Anti-Semitism, they have been harassed repeatedly by a reporter for the New York Times. Listen to Norah O'Donnell in 60 Minutes yesterday. Listen to what she had to say to Hakeem Jeffries. Listen very carefully. Cut 26, go.
Israel was put in a very difficult situation when it comes to the horrific events of 10/7, a brutal terrorist attack by Hamas, which is an entity that has sworn to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. So Israel was in a position where, of course, it had to respond to decisively defeat Hamas. At the same time, my view has been that we have to do everything possible to get the hostages out and to surge humanitarian assistance in.
Now let's stop right there. One of the reasons they're having difficulty getting the hostages out is because the Biden administration and their comments, whether it's Blinken or Biden or Kirby or the rest of the reprobates, is giving aid and comfort to Hamas. Hamas knows that the United States will not have Israel's back if it destroys Hamas. It is undermining Israel's ability to get their hostages back and our hostages back. And Biden is very poor at getting hostages out of anywhere. He paid the Iranians $6 billion for American hostages. $6 billion. And there's still American hostages, probably aren't even alive anymore in Afghanistan. But we have to surge humanitarian assistance into Gaza. This is a talking point. Humanitarian assistance has been surged into Gaza, and Hamas steals it. And they use it for themselves, and what they have left, they sell. They sell to their own people. But let's listen to what Norah O'Donnell says in response to him. Go.
But isn't it also true that while retaliating and going after Hamas terrorists, that Israel has been indiscriminate in its bombing?
All right, stop right there. That's why I'm playing this clip. Isn't it also true, while retaliating and going after Hamas terrorists, that Israel has been indiscriminate in its bombing? Now, she is the she's the main anchor for CBS News. She's it. She's the big dog. You can be an observer. Just read basic information and you know that's not true. But she says it anyway. Why does she say that? Hakeem Jeffries even corrects her. Go ahead.
Say that they've been indiscriminate. I do think what we'd like to see moving forward is the execution of the new phases of this conflict with surgical precision.
You can still be a strong supporter of Israel.
That's enough. That's enough. 60 Minutes, the American media, these Sunday shows, these evening shows, these endless morning shows and day shows. These aren't news people, ladies and gentlemen. They're not interested in news. They're not interested in conveying facts or information or knowledge to the American people. They're on a mission to destroy the state of Israel. We have to come to grips with this. They're on a mission to overthrow our constitutional republic. We have to come to grips with this. And they're doing it on a daily basis, and it is constant, 24/7. Before October 7th, we, the American people in our country, were under constant attack by the same media. That we are racist, that we are bigoted, that we are this, that we are that, that our parents are no good, that we don't have a right to free speech, that we don't have a right to freedom of assembly. The pandemic, which is the run-up to what they intend, how they treated you and me and all American citizens, how they corralled us and bullied us and controlled us. CRT, ESG, DEI, all built on Marxist racism. The 1619 Project, pushed out by the media, especially the New York Times, into our classrooms. It was a war on you and me, all of us, regardless of faith and color. A war on our founders, 2020, the riots. A war on our Declaration, a war on our constitutional system. Every day, day in and day out. The very fabric of this nation being torn over and over and over again. And today, the focus is on the state of Israel. Why? Because they're just like us. That's why. They believe in liberty, representative government. They're our closest ally. But this time, rather than the majority in the country, and by that I don't mean white in the United States, I mean the majority who love America. And we come on all shades and stripes and backgrounds. Now it's Israel's turn. Except this time, it's the Jews, specifically the Jews. As the smallest minority in the Middle East, the smallest minority probably in the world, certainly one of them. Because now you have the fusion, as I keep saying, of the Marxists and the Islamists. American Marxism explains everything. But now we throw in the Islamists. And so the Jake Tappers and the Wolf Blitzers, the Scarboroughs, the Rachel Maddows, the whole conga line of miscreants, malcontents, and reprobates. The focus isn't immediately on you now. Now the whole gang moves their focus on this tiny little country with a tiny little population that had its people brutalized in monstrous, unimaginable ways. And they have to fight their way through 50,000 terrorist militia. They have to fight their way through dense cities, urban areas, tunnels, to get to the culprits, to get to the Hitlers and the Himmlers and the rest of them who did this. And they've done so in a way that Admiral John Kirby has never done so. They've done so in a way that General Austin has never done so. They've done so in a way that the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the United States never dreamed of. And yet they're under attack. Why? Because Joe Biden is not only an anti-Semite, he's decided that the quickest way, the easiest way to win re-election is to throw in with the Bernie Sanders types. But Joe's always been an anti-Semite, as I explained on TV this weekend, and to you. And he's always hated his own country. Always. Always.